important.
Well, I think this is an interesting narrative. We're live here because, Dad, you've always and
there goes you won, Dan.
I don't own you one, but I see a lot of people always talk about it. It's one of those stocks that goes on rides and then comes back down.
Well, I'm riding the elevator up.
Nice. Well, yeah, Dad, just tell us. Well, let's first do the intro here and talk about some other things. So we haven't got on here in really a couple weeks. I know we're trying to do this weekly now, and with everyone's schedule, we're just a little busier. But I'm glad we got a chance to do this today because the markets have been just absolutely crazy the last 2 weeks. Obviously, the GameStop, AMC fiasco, meme Reddit stocks, Wall Street bets, whatever you want to call it. I mean, Dad, just give us kind of a rundown of your opinion on all that, because I know you were kind of away during part of it last week. And
yeah,
obviously it was a short squeeze, and I'm sure you've seen plenty of short squeezes in your life. Is that all it was, basically, is a short squeeze and people just turned it into something else?
Well, I think it was a short squeeze fueled by people that were angry at hedge funds. At least that's the media narrative. And there were too many shorts in that name. It was overdone. And there was no question that a few hedge funds got hurt. But I would say net, there were probably more hedge funds that made money on the long side playing the momentum on it than lost money, which is the opposite of what a lot of these Robinhood investors thought.
The hedge funds are the ones who came out profitable in that trade on both sides, not
well, I think they put out more shorts as the stock went higher, and some of the early shorts were forced to cover, so they lost money. But overall, I don't think that the hedge funds got hurt, as a group like people think. And I think retail probably got burned the most.
Yeah, I mean, retail got destroyed, and there's hedge fund reports that are coming out that there's certain hedge funds that made hundreds of millions of dollars on that trade, just got in and out. There was someone that was making a really good comparison, basically describing it to like the jungle and breaking it down to like the different animals on the food chain and how they feasted on that trade, and literally saying how, when you think about what goes on in the jungle, you have the lions, and then you have like the hyenas and vultures that come when there's the remains. And if they stick around too long, then they get eaten by the lions again. And that's kind of what happened for people that crowded that trade late and then lost, 80, 85. I mean, the stocks have obviously gone up and down. It's crazy because right before we got on here, I saw there's still people buying hundreds of thousands of dollars in premiums for the $800 call options in GameStop. So people are still trying to play this trade, and who knows if there's going to be another short squeeze because now they overdid the short coming back down. Who knows? But it's been fascinating, and it's kind of taken away from all the other stocks,
Yeah, and I think the market got hurt by that last week, and with GameStop and some of these others coming down, that gave more strength to the regular market again. But it was quite an interesting couple of weeks. And of course, when Congress gets involved, it's never good. And we'll see how that plays out. If they make more regulations, they always feel like they have to do something.
Yeah, they're just basically killing themselves slowly by all these regulations. We're heading for decentralization across the board. So the central government can enjoy its time while it lasts temporarily.
A revolutionary, right, Mike?
So, Dad, the way, everyone was calling for this big dip, and it kind of happened, but it was very short-lived. Are you kind of bracing yourself for another dip?
Yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of those little moves because I think that there's a lot of scared people that are in the market. And there's still a lot of money on the sidelines. So it's a back and forth. So I think what we saw last week can quickly happen again.
So is it time to do Dan's VIX play today on such great?
I don't think so, because you got all this money that is going to go enter the market again from the $1,400. that the government's going to be giving out again.
You should hear some of these conversations I've heard about this stimulus check with these people. It's unreal.
So, Dad, you basically think then, based on the stimulus checks, that that's it?
Well,
Right.
I think it'll be when that money gets in, and I think some of the move in the market is anticipating the passing of this 1.9 billion, right? So it's going to be very interesting to watch, but I'm pretty sure the market's got some more upside because of those stimulus checks. And once you feel like that's done with, then you kind of have a vacuum down. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, well, let's dive into some stocks here. I took some profits on DraftKings this morning. I still own the stock, but I felt like, 63 to 64 range is kind of in the upper range of where that stock's going to possibly be for the next couple of months. I could be way off, but, I kind of think it'll get back down to the mid 50s and then I could reload. Penn, I'm going to short. I actually opened up a short position on Penn about an hour ago for a swing trade. Don't get me wrong, I love Portnoy, I love Penn. It's just about the charts, and Penn's outside of the range that it should be. And, maybe it goes a little higher. Ultimately, I think it probably comes back below 100 before it gets to like 140. And obviously, I'm going to just be monitoring it.
TSCRF is the move right now in gaming. It's up to $3 now.
Well, don't forget we got the Super Bowl on Sunday, so I think a lot of the people are buying these gambling stocks because of that. And then the Super Bowl's over, so it seems to me it's a good day to be making sales in these names. Look at them all, Las Vegas.
Yeah, I'm dumping this thing as we speak for a nice profit.
Well, not just that, but like the main thing I really look at when I look at a stock like Penn is ever since 75, the run up to here has been on just no volume. So it's not real buyers, it's retail buyers. And all it takes is a real seller. And in my opinion, it'll rip through all the levels it went through and just kind of go back to 75, 85 level. And again, I'm not betting against Penn as much as just going with the ebbs and flows of the chart. I might be a little early on it, but I don't necessarily know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with it. It's just hard to be short it.
Yeah, no, it is. And, that's where personally I've made some of my bigger cash outs is trying to not necessarily step in front of a moving train, but sort of start to get in front of it when it feels like it's starting to slow down, that major up move. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here. We'll see. If it gets above 130, I'll probably get out of it. But my thought process is it maybe hits 130 and then just comes down on a dime. So those are my thoughts there. Dad, I know you like U.S. Steel. They did the offering. And
yeah, I like U.S. Steel before the offering because it came down to its 50-day. If you all recall, a few weeks back, the stock ran way up, and I said, you got to get out of this thing, and it kept going. Well, it finally came down to earth, and it seemed like it was a reasonable play when it hit the 50-day, and then they announced the secondary. So you were able to see all the action from 1665, which is where the secondary took place, and you just saw all the churning right below that level, and it finally broke through today. And I think they got through most of that stock now, so it looks pretty good, at least to get back to the 50-day, which is around, I believe, 1814 or 1815.
And I think, the way a lot of people look at charts is as soon as it closes above the 50-day, it's going to bring in a whole nother wave of buyers.
Well, that's true also. It may do that.
Yeah, like you like it to the 50-day, and then there's people who don't like it until it gets to the 50-day. And that's where I give you credit because you kind of get at the beginning of these big moves before the crowd jumps on it. You did the same thing with Ford when it was at like 650. And then once it crossed a certain point, that's when everyone else is then like, oh, we need to get into Ford. Yeah,
Yeah, well, that's where it's really good to see, volumes and direction. And the 50-day is a nice thing to look at, but it's already had a huge move when it gets through it. So it's not the only thing that should be looked at.
Just looking something up real quick.
Do we lose anybody there? Mike?
No.
Do we lose Mike?
Nope.
No.
So what do you like, Mike? You've been on all these penny stocks, huh?
I mean, I move in and out of things like water flowing. I like something and then I'm out of it 10 minutes later. I've just been building up more of an acumen of understanding these day charts and trying to really master entry points around, the lows of the day, and it's working overall. I mean, I love this ILUS company I was telling you guys about, ILUS. It's obviously, tread carefully for our viewers. It's a penny stock that's trading around 6-7 cents, but it's a company, when you think about police cars, fire trucks, and ambulances, imagine all-in-one hybrid of a vehicle. That's what this company builds. And they already have 8,000 vehicles out in the Middle East and North Africa. They have contracts with governments. Their customers are anyone from a Shell, a BP, and Apple. They've got a lot of stuff going on.
So they make a car that is both an ambulance and a police car?
It literally, it's a hybrid vehicle, like a rapidly moving vehicle, almost like one of those warthogs. And they have multi-trained people on these things. So imagine a person that has the skill set of a fireman, a police officer, and an EMT.
So let's say you're bringing someone to the hospital and you get a call on the radio that there's a murder like 2 blocks away. Do you drop the guy off while you investigate the murder?
Good one, Bob. At the end of the day, this is, you can joke around about it. The reality is I'll be the one laughing at the bank here in about a year when the narrative catches up. I mean, when you think about efficiency, why the hell would you have vehicles one off like that when you could just combine forces? We're heading into a new era.
What's the ticker?
ILUS. I bought 50,000 shares this morning at open to start, and I'll be adding to it. I plan on becoming a millionaire off this stock alone. So,
nice.
This is going to be fun. And, you got to be able to stomach these things. This is volatile. I've already seen I was up $400 on it and down 300 within 5 minutes.
This thing's trading at 6 cents.
Yeah, exactly. Which is where I got in.
How many shares are outstanding? Do you know?
I don't. But I did a lot of homework on this company last night, and I like their whole team. I like what they're up to. The execs looked, for the most part, trustworthy in the photos, except a couple. But, I always like going off of that. But
this stock is up from 0 to 9 cents in the last, couple of weeks?
Well, that's why I got in at 6 cents.
Reminds me of Dogecoin.
Well, look at that. So it goes back to the belief system, though. If you buy into that whole narrative, and they're huge already in North Africa and the Middle East with this. It's not like these guys are doing nothing. So the other one I like is MITI, where you look at it's trading at like 40 cents. They got rid of all their convertible debt and now have access to over $20 million from banks. And when I do the math on that, I'm like, okay, cool. These guys are.
Well, what do they do?
So,
what do they do, Mike?
They're a compounding pharmacy play. So, Integrity Compounding Pharmacy, a lot of basically the future of, health, telemedicine, where we're going with streamlining data, really making sense. It's kind of like a knockoff the GDRX play, but more innovative.
Some good penny stock names. I think we should talk about some of these names that have really been the most phenomenal stocks of 2020 that are kind of in neutral gear, that are possibly about to break out. Like, I've been keeping my eye on Plug and Tesla. Obviously, if you believe that the epic run is finally over for good, then mute what I'm saying. But if you believe that, this is just a consolidation period, both of them feel like they're just about to break out in a big way. Tesla is kind of starting to today, possibly. I just pulled up the chart like 2 seconds ago. And, where was I this morning on this trade? But there's a lot of names. Like, you guys know I really like Fastly a lot. Yesterday was the first time they closed above 111 in a really long time. and they still have that gap to fill to get back up to old highs. I think that stock gets to 150 this year. And Cloudflare, which is Net, which is Fastly's kind of competitor, they kind of move together, except Net almost even has a better chart, just NET. Both these stocks are in a range, and once they break out, it's going to be a big breakout. I like AMD a lot, even if it's down here for a couple months. I think there's a lot of really, really good stocks that you're getting a chance to get back in if you've missed these runs. And, you know, I know it's easy to look at Plug and be like, oh, the stock has run from 3 to 65, but clearly it's just in a completely different ballpark. They've made a lot of acquisitions. There's a lot of call option buying going on for them and Tesla, which is no shocker. And, you know, the one thing I always talk about, and like when I talk to a couple of my buddies who also play the markets and they bring up like fundamentals of Tesla at the moment, and it's been like this for at least a year, this is a technical chart market. Everyone looks at technicals. Everyone puts the same moving day averages on their charts, the 20 days, the 50 days, and there's certain stocks that when they hit the 20 days, they completely bounce off of there, and they're amazing buying opportunities. And Plug is one of those stocks. And, you know, it might be down here for a few days, but once it gets going again, that's it. It gets going in a big way. So I really like Plug, Fastly, Cloudflare, which is Net, and Tesla. And the other thing I did was I bought some of the Bitcoin funds that you guys like, the GDPC, and I converted all my Coinbase to Ethereum a few days ago. So I'm long actually more Ethereum than Bitcoin now. Just seems like it's the better performer, and they kind of move together, but Ethereum's at least, it seems like the one that outperforms in a big way and did last year, even though no one talks about it. And,
well, I was talking about it for a long time. And
yeah,
now, you know.
Well, you were. When I say no one, I mean like you see the Bitcoin ticker on CNBC.
I know. That's why Ethereum's the winner, because the media is rigged and they purposely draw people into a certain narrative. You got to get ahead of it. Bitcoin needs Ethereum badly to survive and thrive. Ethereum is the glue to all of this for the future of startups, the blockchain. It's going to allow companies to scale. If you look up what Ethereum rolled out last month with their technology, it's going to allow scalability with apps for developers, which is unbelievably game-changing when we think about the future of business and investing even.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be completely honest with both of you guys. I don't really understand Ethereum or Bitcoin the way Mike does or the way that a lot of these guys on TV do. It's a lot of people that I respect have strong opinions about them, and I'm writing those opinions. And that's really...
Well, that's a big part of it, Dan, for our viewers, is you're very good at taking advice from the right people.
Well, yeah.
That's an art in itself with investing.
Yeah, but I'm not going to sit here and pitch Ethereum in a way like I even understand it, because I don't. I just believe that there's enough institutional money buying into both those things right now that they're starting to take on lives of their own. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But
you're not wrong.
Yeah, well, that's my thought process.
It's the future of humanity literally existing and progressing. We need this to work on another level, or we're all done. And that's why I'm so bullish. When you bet on, is humanity going to survive? We're pretty resilient as a species until we're gone. So that's why I'm so bullish on crypto. I think it's the only way the world keeps in sync for the years and generations ahead.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't really know. All I know is this feels like a final chance to get into Tesla before the next takeoff. And also, Dad, I told you Snap would be up today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yesterday was such a gift. I already own a lot of Snapchat from the 20s, but yesterday when it fell 10.5% after hours, it just seemed obvious that it was going to be up today. So anyone who owns Snapchat, what a run. Same with Pinterest. Mike, I know you asked me if I thought Pinterest was going to be up on earnings.
I'm annoyed because I knew Pinterest was going to pop hard, and I almost went ham on buying call options yesterday and didn't. It was stupid as hell of me.
Yeah, and the other stock that I know we've talked about a little, but yeah, I've been following these Reddit stocks, and yesterday BlackBerry seems like they separated themselves out, and I know BlackBerry kind of started to get recognition. The ticker's BB before this whole Reddit wave thing. And then obviously the Reddit crowd took over and sent it on a shockwave. And I think it like got up to 30. So I don't know about those levels, but yesterday was interesting because AMC and GameStop completely flushed out and just closed the day deep into the red. And BlackBerry didn't. It actually rallied at the end of the day and rallied again today. It's up nice. And I know AMC and GameStop, I haven't looked at them in a while. I know they were rallying earlier, but when they were down nicely this morning, it didn't affect BlackBerry. So a lot of unusual call option buying in BlackBerry on that Cheddar Flow site that I follow. And, you know, the chart just looks interesting. These stocks get overdriven to the upside and then come back down because gravity and reality. But then there's often really good opportunities to catch them on the way back up. That's kind of what happened with Fubo. What's Fubo doing?
Talk about a chart. How about Zillow Group? We need to bring them up. Their earnings are next week, and I think they're going to even be popped. The way it's acting, I know it's been going nuts. I think it's going to go way more nuts after earnings. You could tell by the chart.
I think Goldman recommended it or upped the price target today, Mike.
Yeah, I also had a nice talk with our buddy Leon, and he is very licking his chops going into this next earnings with that one.
Really?
Yeah, I thought he still owned Activision. I hit him up yesterday. I'm like, let's go, baby. He's like, man, I prematurely sold that. So that's another one that I'm pumped about for our
Zillow did something big today.
Yeah, not dominant earnings yesterday, ATVI. About time. That thing was due for a liftoff, and it finally happened. And now I'm pumped. I'm long 225 shares of that, and I'm keeping that for the long run. Those guys are just getting started. Nice. Call of Duty numbers were unbelievable.
You see Danimer Scientific now?
Yeah, great call on that. DNMR. I got in and out of that. I got to get back in on it.
Yeah, but unfortunately, you know, I waited for it to come off from these lofty levels, and it didn't at all. It's been straight up. I think it's up $5 today. I mean, it's just out of control.
And how about the company MASS I told you guys about with the testing unknown materials for diseases, MASS? Talk about a stock that is hitting a new stretch. And when you look at the chart here, tell me what you guys think. Even pulling up the 6-month chart or the 3-month or even the 1 month, this thing looks like it has way more room to run.
Well, isn't that in the same category as CRISPR and some of these others?
No, not at all. No? Completely different sector. But they're flying under the radar. Love the ticker, MASS. That's just, it has winner written all over it. I've been in this since $58. Kudos to whoever brought that up in the Clubhouse chat. They have that stocks you might not have heard about. And the guy that came up and mentioned that, he seemed like one of these scientific robot types where I'm like, oh, I need to jump on board here immediately. So that in itself, you have to weed out the winners versus losers. A lot of times people give you terrible information. Like a lot of these stocks on there are complete crap. But then you have a few gems.
I'm going to throw out a stock that I'm long a lot of that just be Dad, I know I told you about it, Mike. I'm telling you now, but ACAC, which is taking Play Studios public.
What is Play Studios?
Play Studios is the gaming app / website that you play gambling games, but for rewards instead of real money. And it's used at a lot of casinos throughout Vegas. And MGM, they're the ones that are behind, like the former CEO of MGM is the guy that's behind this acquisition and this merger and SPAC. And there's some smart people that I follow closely that have made some, double / triple up calls in a very short amount of time that are really liking this story.
I like where your head's at, Dan. I'm going to jump on this.
And obviously, who knows what's going to happen. The one thing I do know is going back to the technicals of charts, these SPACs, at least the good ones, all follow the same routine. What happens is they come out at the $10 a share price, and then they announce what the acquisition is going to be. And then you see a quick run up to $12.50. This happens every time. And then it comes back down to 10 and stays there for a few months before the story starts to build legs, and then they usually run up to 25. That's what happened with SSPK, which is Weed Maps, which we all bought when it was in 11 and change, and we all sold literally, I think, at the top tick above 25. So, I think this is going to be a really good one. I also like BFT a lot.
And how about MCAC? I know we've talked about that offline. They're taking Playboy public.
Well, real quick, so BFT, just so you guys know what that is PaySafe. And PaySafe is kind of a similar, it's almost similar to like a gig wage type company, which, that's what we use to pay our delivery drivers on demand. So PaySafe allows the gig economy to thrive in an extent with same day payouts. And it's also a big pay platform used for the gaming sites to get paid out. So, think about when you're getting money in or and out of DraftKings, it's an app like that that's facilitating it all. And there's a lot of big money that's going into that too. It's obviously kind of already started, but I think it's going way higher.
I'm long 500 shares of BFT. So
nice.
And I brought up MCAC. That's something to keep in mind. They're going to be changing to the Playboy ticker very soon. And when you think about that, the sentiment alone and where we're heading with, you see what Japan's doing now with sex shops. I have no doubt Playboy is going to somehow really get involved in the immersion experience. I know we're talking a bit out there, but with AR, and they already have that nostalgic brand that is going to create a lot of attention.
Playboy used to be public, and their stock certificates had a nude woman on them. So everybody bought the stock so they can get the certificate.
Well, there you go. That just shows right there, though. This is something to keep an eye on, and it probably makes sense to, just wet your beak a little on MCAC because they're going to change ticker soon. And I can guarantee you when that happens, you're going to see a lot of craziness with all these subredditors and whatever is going on with these people. But I think it's a great play.
I think, just to throw this out here, and this is a hot take compared to what everyone else is saying, I think this Reddit crowd has zero influence over stocks, and they were given credit for a hedge fund attack. And I think that a bunch of people with $100 here and $100 there were not responsible for getting GameStop over $400 at all. And I'm sick of the narrative. And I think Wall Street Bets is going to quickly die out as a story because the pump and dump schemes aren't working anymore. And
well, it's also a lot of it's all bullshit. Like when we even talk about this GameStop thing, I was looking more into this today. Most of this has been big money. It hasn't even been these retail investors.
That's exactly my point. It's I don't like that there's this narrative that like this collective internet group thought, and even like guys like Mark Cuban and Chamath are like getting behind this. It's not what's happening. And
they're not getting behind it. They're just using it to their advantage for marketing, like those guys always do.
Yeah,
and I would do the same thing if I were them, pretending to be, on their side. It's all Cuban loves that crap. He's the king of that.
Yeah.
Respond to my email one of these days, buddy. Don't wait till we're too big where you think we're important. I hate people like that.
Well, that's what Cuban did with the Pardon My Take podcast. They emailed him to, Dad, you'll love this. They emailed Cuban to interview him. That's the Barstool Sports podcast.
Right.
They emailed him, I think it was in like 2016. And the day after Penn bought Barstool, Cuban responded to that email and was like, yeah, I'm down.
What a joke, huh?
Yeah, like 4 years later, responded to the same email thread.
Did Barstool bring that up?
Yeah, they talk about it in the interview. Like it's like the first thing they say. That's how I know about it. It's really funny. Dad, you got any other names?
Well, I really like the way the Vegas Sands and the Winds act. LVS, WYNN, they're starting to act like, the reality is Vegas is coming back, Macau is coming back, and it's getting closer and closer. And these stocks are on fire.
So how much upside do you see with an LVS? Because I'm still in that. I got in that at $48.
I think there could be some M&A activity there. There could be a lot of things that happen with that company. So I think it's got 75 written on it.
Wow.
If Dad thinks 75, the real upside's
150.
135.
Yeah.
No, not at all. When
The M&A stuff, who knows? For all we know, Portnoy ends up being an LVS brand ambassador with Penn here in the next month. You
Well,
don't
that's
know.
why I'm kind of shocked by this Penn move. Is you would expect there to be like a rotation, but I guess it's a different crowd, and there probably is a rotation. Like I said, this Penn buyout is a zero volume buyout, and those, from what I've seen over the last couple of years, is when there's no volume, the move gets erased in a flash when you have something. If it's no volume to the downside or upside, it's just not sustainable. Dad, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, there is something to that, and you just got to make sure that the volume stays no volume on one side. I mean, if it all of a sudden the volume picks up and the stock's not going down,
All bets are off.
yeah, I mean, especially when you're near all-time highs or at all-time highs, because a lot of people can be thinking the same thing. Let's short some here, and it seems reasonable. It can get back down to 100. I mean, who knows? Look at what Tesla did to people.
Well, yeah, also the Tesla thing, what I like about it, Elon Musk was just on Clubhouse. I bet you have a lot of new Elon Musk fans from that on another level where they're like, oh, I need to support him with Tesla.
Well, I know with Tesla, there is a lot of competition, regardless of how great Elon Musk is. He's got his hands full going forward.
I completely disagree. I think the Tesla brand is as powerful as Apple. And when you understand ad marketing on that level, which I know you completely get at this point, the reality is there is zero competition that's real for him. None.
I think people in the next
Tesla.
Right now, anyone going out to buy an electric car thinks Tesla. In 2 years, I don't think it's going to be like that.
Bullshit.
Listen, I think Dad's right to an extent, because even myself, I've been kind of like back and forth between whether or not I'd want to drive a Tesla or a Ford Bronco. I think there's other car companies that have done cool things in the past that could build up on like the nostalgia of bringing back some of their models that have been really successful in an electric way.
But Dan, we're talking about Elon Musk here. He's got stuff in the wheelhouse he doesn't even know he's capable of yet, that none of these competitors even dream about.
Could be, but at the same time,
could be, Dad.
No,
he's a next level genius that he's going to come up with things. We're going to see people having access to not sitting in traffic anymore with Tesla. Good luck competing with that.
What about this company, Lucid?
All I know is do not bet against Elon Musk. He's the smartest man on the planet. He's probably not even human.
It's funny what Peter Schiff.
That guy's a schmuck.
No, I know, but no, I'm not gonna say no. I know he's got conviction on what he feels, and
yeah, he thought Bitcoin was fake until he realized if he kept saying it, he was not going to have any business left.
Well, he still thinks it's a complete scam. But my point is, like a couple of weeks ago, when Elon Musk, or like last week, when he got behind like the GameStop movement and tweeted "Game stunk," then Peter Tisch comes out and he's like, "Of course, Elon Musk is getting behind a bubble. Once you start throwing pins around at bubbles, Tesla's next in line." And it was a funny tweet because he's like, if there's anyone that's going to make sure that this, GameStop and Dogecoin movement is not a bubble, it's going to be the guy who owns Tesla. I thought it was funny because I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's always funny when someone continues to hate on someone that's just a behemoth like that.
I don't think it's a matter of hate on. I think
Brad, of course it is. It's a jealousy thing. Peter Schiff wishes he had the intellect of Elon Musk.
Have you listened to Peter Schiff on?
Yeah, I have. Jake got on a call with him and went off about why Bitcoin is so legit. And Peter Schiff has a belief system. He can't separate his own belief system for currency.
Well, when you listen to him on the Joe Rogan podcast, he has a very, very deep understanding for capitalism and the economy. Like, he's beyond sharp. And
I have no doubt the guy is very smart. I'm not saying that. He's just way off about belief systems with currency. He doesn't approach it correctly.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to some stocks here. I know we'll probably wrap this up soon, but you got Mike. What are you thinking with U1? Because anytime that's
I'm already out of it. I made a quick $300 on the podcast here. I've been out for 10 minutes.
So you don't like that? Just
No, I love it. I think some of these are just, you have to pick your spots wisely, get in and out of them. It depends what I'm not like anchoring you one.
Because I was telling Dad yesterday, I think there's a lot of quote unquote penny stocks, call them like $2 stocks that are in double digit range that are probably all heading back down to like $1 or $2.
Well, I'm not in any of those.
Well, what was the one you mentioned? Bingo, right?
Bingo.
BNGO. Yeah. I mean, I'm long Bingo. I'm right now flat on it, but I'm long 750 shares of BNGO. I'm loving that.
I don't know like anything about them. All I know is this company's run from 50 cents to $12.50 in a month, and is like what's going on there?
What's going on is it's genomes. So it's just the fact that we're heading into a new era with healthcare and babies and no one having any defects. And they're going to be one of the major winners in that. Obviously, we're all in these other names with genomes too, but I like BNGO a lot. I also am in this company ENZC, which is a penny stock, but it's could be the winner in the HIV game and AIDS on another level. It's trading at 53 cents. I just got in today. And the other one in that world is NMRD, which is very interesting.
I actually don't own any of the Geno stocks we've talked about.
You know,
Well, yeah, you can just buy the ARC ETF to cover that too.
Yeah,
One of the ARC
here's the
ETFs.
thing. I mean, those things are hot right now, and it's going to take a really long time before there's, real developments and profits in these
No,
companies.
there will not. That's where you the timeline on history and the future is it's jaded.
No, I'm talking about from a stock point of view.
I disagree completely.
Well, Dad, say what you're saying.
Yeah, what I'm saying is these stocks are way ahead of where the actual fundamentals are now. At some point, they'll be in line, and at some point, they'll be behind. But the stocks have all gone on this tear, partly because of the ETFs being formed that have to buy them. So it is very possible you see these things drop 50 to 80% before they start going back up or, working their way higher. So, the moves these things have had is not sustainable in the short term.
I mean, but when you look at a CRISPR, for example, it's not like this thing has fallen back to earth.
No, it hasn't. I mean, it looks like it's had a nice fall, but that stock can be below 100 in a heartbeat. When
Great.
you
I'll be throwing the kitchen sink at it.
What's up?
Then I'll be dumping way more in if that happens.
All I'm saying is all of these genetic stocks are great companies that have a lot of potential, but zero money in the bank as far as earnings. They're all going to have to do secondary.
I recall that was the case with Tesla a few years ago.
Yeah, I'm not saying one or two of them aren't going to be that way, and I do own a bunch of them. But I'm ready for those things to possibly fall more than 50%.
So why are you in them?
Well,
because they may not. One may not. If one works, but the whole group is very, very overpriced.
And the one, not that this stock falls into that group at all, but I'll say MindMed has held up very well at these levels to the point where I think it might kind of be.
Well, you're talking about the mushroom stock, right?
Yeah, MindMed.
Well, that's a different ballgame, Dan. Those, when Dad's talking about genomes, mushrooms are coming now full circle. Like that inning, we're getting into maturation.
Yeah, but again, we don't know what the FDA is going to do, and they could come out and say, we're not in.
Too much money behind it. The FDA that's all intertwined with the big capital in the world. So there's no chance they're doing anything there. They're not creating red tape with how much big money.
They always create red tape with drugs, and big companies with big capital get drugs turned away all the time. There's been dozens of Alzheimer's drugs that have completely failed. And, the company lost millions and millions of dollars whenever they develop these. So
why don't you talk about like the Canadian stock thing for a bit? Because I know a lot of these stocks are Canadian stocks.
Yeah, back in the day, the Vancouver market was like the cowboy market where everybody brought new issues every 5 minutes at low prices, no due diligence. Let's name a company and go to town and start promoting it. And it was a big pump and dump. And that went on for a few years until they investigated a couple of guys that ran in that market and closed down a bunch of firms. And, I kind of feel like that's coming back. Like maybe all those guys are out of jail now and back into business. I don't know. But there's so many Canadian stocks that are suddenly the wonder companies. Anything with an F on the end is usually a Canadian, that I'd be very wary, especially if they're Vancouver based.
I'll tell you what, I just pulled up the AMC and GameStop charts, and Jesus, what a roller coaster these stocks are on. AMC got all the way up to above 8. I actually day traded the breakout, and it was awesome. And now it's probably going to break 7. And if it does, look out below.
Well, that's when I'll be scooping it. If this goes below 650, I'm going ham.
Where's
GameStop? At some point, the actual long-term value is there.
On AMC?
Yeah, absolutely. Under $6.50. I'm loving that stock.
I mean, you could have gotten it there this morning.
Yeah, I was caught up in other stocks.
I think there's a lot of people that are looking at that like $2 under where you are, Mike, as the spot.
Well, that's good for them. I see way ahead of the curve with what they're going to be doing. They have so many angles to win with an acquisition or just evolving their whole experience. I think Facebook could roll them up.
Here comes the 7 break. I mean, if you want it at 650, put an order out. You'll probably get it in 2 minutes.
Well, maybe I can get it at 620.
Yeah, why don't you break down? Because it seems like one of the things that gets talked about a lot that at the moment at least has had zero impact on the way stocks are valued is AMC, for example. When you hear both sides of the argument, the side that says AMC should be at $2.50 to $4 is the amount of money that they've taken on. It's just such a different stock now. And it seems like that hasn't really played into the price of some of these stocks with them raising money, diluting shares. Is it just no one cares about that anymore? Or at some point, is that all
raising money and diluting shares? It kind of breaks even on that. But, if you raise money, at what price did they actually raise it at? Do you remember the price?
AMC?
Yeah.
I don't.
Because if they raised it at $15, that was a phenomenal move they made.
I'm shorting AMC on the 7 break. There's no doubt it's about to break through 7. And when it does, it's probably going to just fall like a rock.
I'll catch it at the bottom. I'll grab that knife and just throw it back up.
And maybe it doesn't even break. I'm not shorting it unless it does.
Who knows what it's going to do? I mean, I'm amazed GameStop got up over 90 today.
Well, look at it now.
I know.
I deserve to be worth $50 million from GameStop. They should just write me a damn check. That whole situation just drives me nuts.
You were early, Mike.
Mike, tell Al to write you that check. Wasn't he in this for the entire ride, or did he sell
right.
it?
Al's definitely sold the day before the run-up started.
Oh, man.
That guy's the cooler on another level. That's why the Packers lost last week. It was Al.
Yeah, we're live here.
Yeah, we are.
You guys.
Yep, there's the AMC break.
All right. Well, I hope everyone has a great. I mean, I have nothing else here. I feel like people are getting. We've had a nice run here, 45 minutes.
Yeah, at this point,
we're the only ones on.
No, we've had a couple viewers
for a while. We had a handful of viewers actually.
But yeah, let's subscribe, Rolland Market Mashup, kick some ass, make some cash, and we'll see you next week. You guys have anything else here?
Nope, I'm ending the broadcast.